This presentation is a collaboration between Dr. James Chowan, Dr. Sarah Mann, Dr. Gordon Cook, Irina Kalinichenko, and the Workforce Planning Boards of Southern Ontario. It will provide an analysis of the Employer One survey data collected in winter 2022 with a comparison to the 2017 and 2015 data. Given that this is the fifth presentation in the series, we would recommend that you view the videos from the previous years prior to watching this video to better understand the background of this project and the analysis and the comparison presented in this video. As a reminder, while each of the workforce planning boards conducted an analysis of their own region, our research was able to aggregate all of the data from all of the regions and analyze at an aggregate level. Our research also allowed us to examine the mean of the entire data set and determine which regions were above and below this benchmark for each of the key variables of interest. Our analysis also provides an opportunity to highlight which findings were statistically significant, as well as the difference between those findings that were substantially versus statistically significant. A significant amount of time was spent cleaning the data to ensure that all missing data were treated consistently. Locally generated results may vary if missing data are treated differently, which can result in comparisons between regions being imprecise. In other words, while each region conducted their own analysis, some regions included organizations with missing questions, while others discarded entire organizations with missing questions, thus making it difficult to make comparisons across regions using their own individual analyses. Therefore, we were able to provide comparisons across regions with our aggregate analysis by treating all missing data consistently. The purpose of this video is twofold. First, to present the 2022 data analysis, but also to present the comparison between the 2017 and 2015 data. Throughout this video, we will go through the slides quickly, keeping in mind that you can pause the video at any time to view a slide in more detail. This slide presents the descriptive statistics for the number of respondents by region. As you can see, participation in the survey overall is slightly down over 2017, with 3 less regions participating in the survey and more than half of the 6 participating regions reporting an increase in their sample size. This slide presents the descriptive statistics for the number of respondents by industry. We see an overall increase in participation of 7 out of 20 industries participating in the study. The next slide shows a comparison of key variables and the change from 2015 to 2017 to 2022. It is important to point out that the differences may not be entirely due to changes in outcomes, but rather the changes in sample composition could be contributing to the observed differences. For example, in terms of number of employees, if a relatively higher number of smaller organizations and a relatively lower number of large organizations replied to the survey in 2022 compared to the other years, this could be the main contributor to why the mean total number of employees declined over the period. Thus, it may not be the case that organizations are hiring less or have fewer employees, but rather that the sample is made up of smaller organizations and these organizations may hire less. It should be noted that over the 3 comparison periods, the proportion of companies who are planning to hire, light blue line, have stayed fairly consistent, while the use of recruitment agencies for this task, green line, had been steadily rising from 12% in 2015 to 26% in 2022. Although the proportion of separations has been somewhat on the decline, dark blue line, the proportion of hires, red line, has decreased significantly in 2022 compared to 2017 and 2015 data. Interestingly, while companies experienced a greater proportion of positions to be hard to fill in 2022, purple line, there has been a sharp decline in the proportion of organizations providing training to their employees, orange line, in 2022 compared to 2017 and 2015 data. The mean of total employment has decreased significantly in 2022, 60 employees per organization, compared to mean total employment in 2017 and 2015. The next 7 slides present the 2015, 2017, and 2022 results for each key variable by region. Again, we're going to go through these slides quickly, but you can pause the video at any time to view these slides in more detail. The numbers are presented in both a table and a graph format on each slide. To understand how to interpret these results, it's recommended to watch the 2015 video posted on the website. On this slide, we see data on total employment in participating organizations across the regions. If we look at the data on separations in 2022, 60% of organizations experience separations. The lowest this number has been in the 3 comparison years used in this presentation. The percentages are also presented by region, and Chatham-Kent showed that 69% of organizations experience separations, while in Windsor-Essex, 51% of organizations experience separations in 2022. Going deeper into the data shows some interesting trends. We will use Elgin, Middlesex, Oxford as an example region over the following slides. Looking at Elgin, Middlesex, Oxford, this region showed a modest increase in separations from 66% in 2017 to 79% of organizations in 2022. And Elgin, Middlesex, Oxford showed a steady increase in hire from 79% in 2017 to 83% in 2022. Further, Elgin, Middlesex, Oxford reported a substantive increase in the proportion of companies who used paid recruitment services from 14% in 2017 to 29% in 2022. While for the variable positions hard to fill, Elgin, Middlesex, Oxford reported companies finding positions increasingly hard to fill, from 46% in 2017 to 64% in 2022. And for Elgin, Middlesex, Oxford, this was accompanied by a slight increase in planning on hiring from 68% in 2015 to 76% in 2022. Finally, for the regional analysis, Elgin, Middlesex, Oxford organizations reported a substantive drop in the amount of training provided to their employees, from 73% in 2017 to 37% in 2022. The next 7 slides show each variable by industry by year. Again, some interesting information can be gleaned from the data on industries, with the most obvious one being the ongoing decrease in the size of organizations responding to the survey from 2015 to 2017 and to 2022, and specifically in several industries, indicating either a fragmentation of the industry or a relatively higher number of smaller organizations in terms of total employment participating in the survey. Again, please feel free to pause the video if you want to view any of these slides in more detail. Similar to the regional analysis, we will use only one industry, manufacturing, to walk through an interpretation of these results. Looking at manufacturing, this industry showed a slight decrease in separations from 82% in 2015 to 81% in 2017 to 74% of organizations in 2022. Manufacturing showed a slight decline in hiring from 89% in 2015 to 86% in 2017 to 75% in 2022. Further, manufacturing reported a substantive increase in the proportion of companies who used paid recruitment services from 25% in 2015 to 37% in 2017 and 2022. While for the variable positions hard to fill, manufacturing companies reported finding positions increasingly hard to fill, from 58% in 2015 and 2017 to 79% in 2022. And for manufacturing, this was accompanied by a slight increase in planning on hiring, from 78% in 2015 and 2017 to 86% in 2022. Finally, for the industry analysis, manufacturing organizations reported a substantive drop in the amount of training provided to their employees, from 83% in 2015 to 77% in 2017 to 54% in 2022. This chart provides the correlations between the variables of interest and the changing correlations for years 2015, 2017, and 2022. For example, in 2022, there is a correlation of 0.32 between planning to hire and finding positions hard to fill. This positive and significant correlation demonstrates that organizations who are planning to hire are also likely to find those positions hard to fill, and that correlation has increased from 0.22 in 2015 to 0.36 in 2017, and then slightly down to 0.32 in 2022. There are some very interesting findings on this slide. For example, if we look at the first column, we can conclude that the larger the organization, the more likely they are to experience more separations, hire more, use a recruitment agency, find positions hard to fill, plan to hire more, and are offering higher levels of training. We can see an increasing correlation over time between the size of the organization, total employment, and planning to hire variables. Also of note is that organizations who are experiencing more separations are also increasingly likely to find positions hard to fill. In addition, there is an increasingly positive relationship between organizations planning to hire and finding positions harder to fill. There is also an increasing positive correlation between organizations that are hiring and those using a recruitment agency, and a decreasing correlation between organizations that are hiring and those finding positions hard to fill from 2017 to 2022. There is a moderate correlation between companies who experience separations and companies who provide training, ranging from 0.14 to 0.18 over the 2015-2022 period. There were also generally weak correlations between finding positions hard to fill and companies who provided training in 2015 and 2022, with 2017 being an exception with a moderate correlation of 0.17 in 2017. The next slide shows two important analyses: whether each region was higher or lower than the overall average across all regions for each variable in 2022, and whether each region was higher or lower than their outcome for the same variable in previous comparison year 2017. The direction and color of the arrows matter. An up arrow indicates an outcome above average in 2022. A down arrow indicates an outcome below average in 2022. A black arrow indicates an outcome higher in 2022 than in 2017. A red arrow indicates an outcome lower in 2022 than in 2017. A gray arrow indicates an outcome in 2022 for which there is no comparison data in 2017. An empty field indicates no data has been collected in 2022 for this community. Whether a down or up arrow is a good thing should be interpreted with consideration that some of the core variables are positive, like total employment, hire, plan to hire, and support for training, and some are negative, like separation, use of recruitment agency, and finding positions hard to fill. For example, it should be considered a good trend to see a down arrow on the hard to fill variable and an up arrow on support for training. The next two slides provide more detailed explanation of interpretation of the arrows on two specific examples. In the first example, The Chatham-Kent community, we see that black upward arrows indicate that their outcome in 2022 have been higher than the average of the 6 communities surveyed in 2022 and higher than the outcomes for Chatham-Kent in 2017. It is notable that the outcomes for all the core variables have been higher than average and higher than outcomes for 2017 for Chatham-Kent. Unlike Chatham-Kent, we see a different trend in 2022 for Hamilton in the second example. Red downward arrows indicate that for Hamilton, the outcomes for most core variables have been below average in 2022 and lower than their outcomes in 2017. It is notable that only hard-to-fill variable has been higher than average in 2022 and higher than in 2017 for Hamilton. The rest of the variables have been less than average and less than in the comparison year. This slide presents the same information but in a different way. For the good outcomes, such as total employment, hiring, plans to hire, support for training, upward arrows on previous slides become a plus. Downward arrows become a minus. For the bad outcomes, such as separations, agency use, positions hard to fill, upward arrows on previous slides become a minus, and downward arrows become a plus. Again, black color indicates an outcome higher than the comparison year 2017. Red, lower than in 2017. Gray, no comparison to 2017. This chart can be used to present an overall picture for each region. Plus signs reflect positive trends. Minus signs reflect negative trends in 2022. More plus signs for each region could be considered good news for that region. We can get a picture of each region by examining this slide in more detail. We will again consider 2 specific examples on the next several slides. For example, Sarnia-Lambton has the most plus signs in the table. What does it mean? We can interpret it as follows. Although total employment in Sarnia-Lambton has been lower than average across 6 communities in 2022 and lower than their own total employment indicator in 2017, and its separation has been on the rise, above average in 2022 and higher than in 2017, this community has witnessed an above average and higher than in 2017 number of people hired and planned to be hired, and below average number of positions hard to fill. Employers in Sarnia-Lambton have also provided more support for training and used recruitment agencies less, compared to the average across 6 communities in 2022, although both types of outcomes were lower than those in 2017 for the same community. Compared to Sarnia-Lambton, Elgin Middlesex Oxford has been doing just as well on the hire, hard to fill, and plan to hire outcomes. Hire and plan to hire were higher than average across 6 communities in 2022 and higher than relevant indicators for the same community in 2017. And there were below average number of positions hard to fill. Just like Sarnia-Lambton, it has experienced lower than average and less than in 2017 total employment and higher than average and higher than in 2017 separation. Unlike employers in Sarnia-Lambton, employers across Elgin Middlesex Oxford community have relied more on the use of recruitment agencies, higher than average in 2022 and higher than their own indicator in 2017, and provided less than average support for training, even lower than in 2017. In conclusion, we can see some interesting and valuable trends from these analyses across the regions. Take your time to review each slide in detail. Thank you for your attention. We would ask that you please cite this presentation with our permission. Please email us at the email addresses provided with any questions, feedback, or thoughts on interpretation of the findings. We look forward to hearing from you.